Today on the podcast, we have some really interesting news out of Microsoft. They've made a fairly significant move, in my opinion, and essentially their new AutoGen framework is going to allow multiple AI agents to talk to each other and complete your task. Now, for those that don't remember, earlier this year, there's a number of projects, including, I think, AutoGPT that came out that essentially allowed you to set up agents, give them like a mission or a goal. So, it could be like, generate a business that creates $500 a month in passive income. It would go research, it would spin up multiple agents that did all, but it's pretty much created its own business, spinning up agents that would all have different tasks, outsourcing things, doing different research, and it would, you could give it budgets and other things, and essentially it would just go accomplish the task you gave it. That was the concept behind it. Of course, there's, a lot of different people saying whether they were able to pull it off or not. There's some really interesting things there. Now, all of this was quite popular, but Microsoft's new move, I believe, here with AutoGen and their AutoGen framework, I think is now making a very significant play in this field, as it is now allowing multiple AI agents to actually talk to each other and complete your tasks and do a lot of things. So today on the podcast, we're going to be diving into what is going on with AutoGen, what it actually unlocks, and, if this is really possible to do what people are saying. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Make sure that you go to aibox.ai, link in the show notes, to join the waitlist for our new AI platform. We're going to be launching an incredible platform that allows you to build anything you want with workflows in AI. So you're able to chain together ChatGPT and image generators and audio generators to make really powerful apps for your organization, or you can host them on our marketplace and actually generate royalties from them. So make sure to go to aibox.ai and join the waitlist. In addition, if you like the podcast, if you could do me a massive favor and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. This helps me be able to get better guests on here as they check the reviews to see how you guys are liking it. So if you could please do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Microsoft is throwing its hat into this growing LLM model application framework with AutoGen, which is an open source Python library aimed at streamlining the orchestration, optimization, and automation of workflows involving LLMs. The company is effectively setting its sights on a rapidly growing field where it's going to compete with a range of existing solutions. AutoGen's core innovation revolves around agents, so programming modules powered by large language models like ChatGPT. They can essentially interact through natural language message to perform a bunch of different tasks. According to Microsoft, these agents can be tailor-made to carry out specialized duties and can even collaborate with other models. So in a simplified view, think of each agent essentially as just kind of like a single ChatGPT session with a unique directive. So an AI agent might be programmed to generate Python code based on user queries, while another might be, it could essentially act as like a code reviewer, analyzing and troubleshooting the generated code. What makes this even more interesting, I think, is that these agents can essentially pass responses and data between them, essentially working in tandem to accomplish complex tasks, right? So of course, there's you trying to get something done and chatting with ChatGPT to do that. But now imagine if ChatGPT was chatting with itself. You just gave it the direction and it's able to work. And so Microsoft, I believe, is coming in a big way to help enable this. So the framework allows what Microsoft terms as, quote, human proxy agents, essentially giving humans the ability to kind of join the conversation among the AI agents. So this feature is particularly useful when the AI needs to make sensitive decisions, like executing a financial transaction or sending emails requiring user confirmation. So in practice, this transforms the human user into something, kind of like a team leader overseeing the group of AI agents, intervening when they veer off course or require further guidance. This really isn't that far off from what we currently see in today's, corporate America. It is a mechanism that allows the system to be as autonomous as the user guided as the application demands. You can pretty much choose how much freedom this thing has when it should notify you when you need to make inputs and whatnot. So another really compelling feature of AutoGen is its modular architecture, which lets developers quickly assemble general purpose components to build custom applications. The framework even supports a more complex hierarchical arrangements where a quote-unquote master agent could moderate interactions among multiple users and agents, all following a set of rules. So Microsoft claims that this really collaborative approach between humans and AI agents can accelerate coding processes by up to 4 times, and really is kind of underscoring the efficacy gains achievable through this kind of collaborative approach. So AutoGen isn't stepping into an empty field. It joins a growing list of competitors like LangChain, Lambda Index, and libraries specifically focused on LLM agents such as AutoGPT, which I mentioned in the intro to this podcast. There's MetaGPT and Baby AGI. ChatDev, another entry in the field, employs LLM agents to essentially mimic an entire software development team, while Hugging Face's Transformer Agents library enables a more advanced conversational applications by connecting LLMs to external tools. One thing I will note here is that a lot of people said, hey, look, this whole AutoGPT thing, there's a lot of hype around it, but it's not actually able to execute. You can't tell it make me $1 million business, and it goes and executes on that directive. Now, the thing that I will say to those people is pretty much just because a technology isn't capable of like perfection right now, but it's like kind of in the right direction, it will get there. These things will get better. These things will eventually be able to do whatever you tell them, in my opinion. And it kind of just reminds me of like people that made fun of like Mark Zuckerberg, and I was definitely one of them, when he came out with his like metaverse image, like, 2 years ago, I think, and it was like really poor graphics. Well, we just saw last week on his podcast with Lex Friedman that the graphics are now literally like a 3D face scan with perfect, essentially a perfect 3D model of yourself. Now you can have a meeting, or like they did a podcast in the metaverse with each other, but it literally looks like you are right next to the 3D version of yourself. It's completely different than what this thing was, that technology was 2 years ago. A lot of people made fun of it 2 years ago for being, the graphics were bad, blah, blah, blah. Well, the point is the concept is there, and it's only going to get better. I think it's the same thing with these AutoGen, these AutoGPT things. Some people might make fun of it and say, hey, look, it's not perfect right now. It's not totally there. It's going to get there. These things like, for example, you have ones that essentially mimic, I think it was like ChatDev or whatever, that essentially mimics an entire software development team. Like that will be able to execute flawlessly at some point, whether that's now, tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years. Eventually that, like, make fun of it all you want, right? But that thing eventually is going to perfectly execute an entire development team. You'll give it a direction, and it will be able to, fulfill all the roles, write that code perfect, test it, debug it, and get that thing working. So I think very, very powerful software is coming down the pipe, and the conversation shouldn't be like, can it or can't it achieve its goal? It'll get there. I think the real question is, what does that mean if we have this piece of software that replaces an entire development team or whatever? What are the implications here? So I think LLMs and their applications are drawing significant attention with, prototypes emerging across various sectors, from shopping and market research to simulating mass behaviors and generating non-playable characters in video games, right? The whole NPC thing. However, I do think it's worth noting that the technology is still maturing. So grappling with issues like hallucinations and unpredictable behavior does happen. Like I said, though, it's gonna get there. It may not be perfect. Don't let that be a turnoff, because it will get there. I think the consensus on all of this is fairly optimistic from everything I've been seeing online, with each major tech company, including Microsoft, making some serious investments in AI copilots and LLMs. I think the future appears to hold a very significant role for these agent frameworks. AutoGen's launch, I think, kind of serves as a testament to the escalating competition, right? Once Microsoft is in the ring, this is something the big players are paying attention to. So this is going to be a very interesting space to watch as it heats up.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.